Web3.tv.
People ask me, you had a dream job at CAA, like why did you move into work, with what is a scam? Crypto and the blockchain industry exists. Bitcoin is a potential solution to all of these issues that we as immigrants have.
From chatting with Hollywood stars to connecting with blockchain's A-listers, the future of blockchain starts right here. This is Jenny from The Blockchain.
Hello everyone and welcome to The Blockchain. I'm Jenny and this is the place where innovation meets conversation. Joining me today is a visionary marketer and entrepreneurial strategist who has shaped global campaigns and forged landmark partnerships across sports, entertainment, and technology. From leading transformative deals at OKX to steering brand growth at CAA Sports, to spearheading luxury campaigns at Havas, she has consistently set new standards in marketing innovation. Today, she brings her expertise and passion for building trusted global brands to the world's leading cryptocurrency exchange. Please welcome here on Jenny from The Blockchain, the Global Chief Marketing Officer of Binance, Rachel Conlan. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you for having me today, and what a lovely introduction.
Well, you are a formative person, so you deserve an introduction like this. Thank you again for joining us. Tell me a little bit about your life and your journey from New York to Dubai as a marketing guru, and how did you land in the crypto blockchain space? What were your initial thoughts when you arrived here?
Oh, wow. So started in Ireland, then as we've shared, spent 14 years in New York, working in advertising across many different clients, from banking to pharma to technology, and then joined a creative artist agency at a time when Formula One was really being kind of transformed by Liberty Media, and was lucky enough to have them as my client. And spent like a wonderful 5 years there. But during that period, obviously, as many of us know, COVID happened.
Yes.
And I think it was a defining moment for many people where they really looked at, where they were and what they were doing. And we had lived, myself and my husband, very nomadic lifestyles of traveling the world with our various roles, and had been, he had been living here in the Middle East, and I'd been living in Europe at that time, spending a lot of time back in the US. And we decided to make UAE home, 5 years ago. And at that stage, I really thought that would be, me taking a step back in my career, relocating here. But CAA asked me to, be one of their first people on the ground.
Okay, so that was your first job here?
Yeah, so I transitioned and represented CAA on the ground here. But at that time, as we know, the world of blockchain and crypto was really blowing up. Yeah. A lot of the founders in that space were, trying to understand how they could hit mainstream. I was lucky enough to be working with many of those businesses, one of them being OKX. Oh, wow. And had the opportunity really to get a front row seat and to truly understand what was this enormous potential to be able to truly make this industry mainstream and act as a translator. So really that's what kind of lured me over to the crypto blockchain space, just seeing the potential for really what was this transformative technology that needed a lot of translation at that moment in time.
Did you understand blockchain and crypto at that time? Were you also an investor or trader?
This is a really funny story. So I had actually been introduced to crypto by a friend who worked at Visa back when the Satoshi white paper came out.
Wow.
And she was a girlfriend from university. She was obsessed with kind of digital finance and transformative technology. And when I moved over to the US first, I didn't have a visa. I moved there back in 2009, and it was really a period where you and I both know that challenge of visas and like trying to set up bank accounts, and every challenge was put up. And she introduced to me, she was like, look, this is, Bitcoin is a potential solution to all of these issues that we as immigrants have. But I'll be really honest, at that moment in time, while she became an investor and was showing me, how she was buying perfume at that time on the blockchain.
Well, she was really early to the
really
game.
Early, and she is really early. She's incredible. She's gone on to Airbnb.
I hope she still has her Bitcoin.
She does. She's gone on to Airbnb, and she's now in Aura, like driving, what is their commercial strategy. So she's a phenomenal, a great futurist. I always learn a lot from her. But at that time, kind of went deep on it, learned a little bit about it. And then obviously life took over and went back. I solved my banking issues, I got my visa, but had always kind of taken an interest in it. And through Havas, I was working with a lot of technology companies, with IBM, for example, on IBM Watson. So kind of always understood it in the background, but was never an active investor.
So you were comfortable with it already?
Really only got involved, deeply in it as an investor back in kind of 2019, late 2019, when, some friends in the sports space were talking about buying Bitcoin, and I took that first step in.
Oh, good for you!
It felt like it was a space that didn't feel as inviting at that time, but it was a space that, like, if my smartest friends are getting involved in this and it keeps reappearing, it's probably a trend that's here to stay.
I hope that you
that
kept
was the
your
motivation.
Bitcoin from 2019.
I did. It was a small amount, but I did.
Well, even if it's a small amount from that time,
exactly,
you are far above everybody else right now. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, but it was really only 5 years ago when I started working with many of the businesses in the space and kind of truly understood what was the full potential.
Did you feel welcome though when you came to Abu Dhabi and to the UAE?
Wow, I was lucky that over the course of my 20-year career, because of the roles I had at Havas and CAA, I'd spent a lot of time in UAE, in Saudi, in Bahrain. So I always found it very inviting. And as an Irish person, we take hospitality very seriously, and I could honestly say my Arab friends, when they welcome you to their home and to their city, it's like next level. And I was just blown away. We spoke earlier about New York and that entrepreneurialism, from 2008 that really kind of engulfed the city. And when I came to UAE, I felt that same kind of energy, that entrepreneurialism, that innovation, that vision that they really wanted to build what was the cities or countries of the future. So, I just completely got tapped by that bug, and haven't looked back since.
It's bustling still. It's
bustling, and I think you and I are experiencing this firsthand at the moment. Just the volume of people coming through. It's first of all, geographically, it sits in such a perfect center point between East and West, but like, everything is happening here at the moment. It's not just the country embracing digital assets. They're embracing AI. They're embracing the future of wellness and healthcare. So I think no matter what is your area of interest or area of preference, you can meet someone here who's an innovator or a disruptor in the space that you're interested in. And that's what I love about it. Every week I'm very lucky in the role I'm in that I get to meet a lot of people coming through, and you just see that energy that both domestically is happening, but also the people passing through.
Yeah, I'm feeling that as well. I mean, I'm a newcomer. You've been here for a few years already, but you can feel that energy, and I feel like this is the place to be now. It's no longer New York City where you and I both thrived. But I absolutely love being welcomed here and being allowed to grow as a woman in this space as well, which you're doing such a formidable job of.
Oh, thank you. But there's just so much opportunity. And we haven't even tapped what is the full potential yet. We're still in such early stages.
And that brings me to my next question. As a woman leading in the global marketing landscape in the male-dominated world of crypto, how will your unique perspective and experience help shape crypto and Binance?
So I get asked this question quite a lot, and I think it's a really interesting question because I've spent 20 years working in advertising, working in sports and entertainment, and now working in digital assets. And in every one of those industries, I was asked, what does it feel like to be, I was very lucky to be senior younger, but to be senior, in this world that's very male dominated. And I would argue that, what the beauty of digital assets, while when I worked in advertising, it was very male dominated. You and I saw that firsthand. The sports space, you're frequently the only woman in the room. But whereas in digital assets, I think because if you look at the white paper, the Satoshi white paper, it was an inclusive from day one. And while naturally we've seen a lot more men drawn to technology because they were the developers and the technologists and the engineers and the coders, I think what's been really wonderful about the digital asset space is, there's already 6% of founders in the space that are female globally. At Binance, we're 51% of my marketing team female.
Oh, that's
we're
wonderful.
30% on our management committee that are female.
That's wonderful to hear,
So I already see that there is such a prominent group of women in this space. We just need to make it more attractive to what I would describe as the mainstream female audience that are just more conservative. They've more mental load. They don't have the time, to spend learning about blockchain and learning, about digital assets. So I think the great thing is we had the diversity of opinion behind the companies already driving it. Now it's about how do we attract and make it more inviting and less intimidating to women that are naturally more conservative with their finances. So, and this has been a space that they may not have taken the first step into. But the lucky thing is increasingly, and especially on the ground here in UAE and GCC, we're seeing more women get involved and more women be investors. I get asked frequently now to present to, different groups of my friends about like, how do you take that first step in? And there's such a plethora of platforms where they can educate themselves.
And
so
that's your advice. Get on the platforms, learn about it, dive in. Don't be scared to learn more about, what crypto offers.
Exactly. And look, I will say, I'm a mom, I'm very privileged in the role, but it's it's a big role and a big team that I'm leading. So I understand more than most what is the lack of time to learn about this space. But the great thing is, I'll do a plug, but Binance Academy, is our platform. And that's, think about that like a masterclass platform where you can go and learn really about the ABCs, of crypto and everything you would need to know. And that's something you can do on your own time.
When did they start offering this?
They offered this, and this is where, I stand on the shoulders of greatness with our, our founders, CZ and Hui, and what they've developed. They launched Binance Academy 5 years ago. And they have continued to build it out, and it is free access, no charge, to explore it.
Did that come out of COVID? Something for people to do while being at home?
I think they were just visionaries and understood that the biggest friction and barrier to entering into the space was going to be education. Yeah. And they were determined to ensure that they put education in the hands of as many people as possible, but at the level in which they were ready to enter. So that's why it's everything from your entry point tutorials to much more sophisticated masterclasses, if on derivatives trading or futures trading, and areas that are for when you progressed later. But like, just to give you a stat, we had 43 million people avail of that platform.
Wow.
Last year.
So I was going to ask you this later, but now that we're talking about the founders, it seems their vision has really impacted the culture there. And how has that inspired you, to excel in the role that you've taken on?
They set up Binance 8 years ago, and within 6 months they were the #1 exchange.
Wow.
I've been very lucky to spend time with them, and their relentless obsession on the user and how they ensure they build a best-in-class platform and app for our user has not changed since day one to today. And I think that's really kind of bred into all of us. We call ourselves Binantians, and there's 6,000 of us nearly now globally.
I like that.
And it's really bred into us to think like an entrepreneur and to innovate like an entrepreneur and to escalate, to make sure that if you spot problems, no matter what level you are in the business, that you have an opportunity, to raise that and to be the voice of getting that changed. And I think that's what's really wonderful about the culture, that while they've grown from 10 people when they started to 6,000 today, it's inbred in us that you have to think like an entrepreneur, and whatever division you are within the business, you're the entrepreneur of your own business, which is very empowering and I think is unparalleled. Like, I've been very lucky to have advised, but also been inside many other Web 2 companies, and I think what they've managed to keep a hold of, that secret sauce, is impressive.
Yeah, it sounds very inclusive and encouraging, and which makes your job that much more enjoyable.
It makes the job enjoyable, but it also makes, this industry has lots of highs and lows, and there's lots of volatility.
Yeah.
And some days you start your day and you're waking up to great news in the markets, other days you're waking up to lots of negative FUD and community distress. So I think that that energy helps you thrive, whether it's the highs and lows. And I think that's something that whether you're an intern entering into the business or someone, you know, that's gray-haired like I am, it's what like gives you the motivation and energy to keep moving.
Oh, it sounds like a perfect place to work.
It is.
What do you feel is the greatest misconception about crypto, AI, and blockchain in general?
Oh, goodness, that, you know, technology is bad for the world and that crypto is a scam, you know, and it's funny, you know, I'm from Ireland, as I said earlier, and they have not embraced crypto as quickly as markets like UAE, and you know, we've seen that.
But
the Western
there's a tech bubble
economies
there,
hasn't.
though. I think
there's a tech bubble that's incredible from, you know, the social platforms and from SaaS, and we've got amazing talent there. So there is like a core group that's embraced crypto. But remember, many of the reasons why other markets like Turkey or Kenya have embraced crypto, you know, due to inflation and other issues, don't exist in Ireland. So there hasn't been that need for like the general retail public to embrace it as quickly as possible. So I see it when I go home. I was bringing that up in the context of when I go home, like, and people ask me, you know, you had a dream job at CAA, like why did you move into work, you know, with what is a scam? And, you know, I just reinforce to them that really, you know, crypto and the blockchain industry exists to make what we already know better and to, you know, make it faster and allow more people have financial tools that don't, you know, and I think that's what's wonderful about our space. We're not replacing, we're complementary. And I think we're seeing that more than ever at the moment with, you know, the institutional space embracing our world, is that they see that this helps make them better and this can bring us into the future and make, you know, what is finance more accessible for all. And I think that's the beauty of the space at the moment.
I think that they will, the countries that are still, you know, behind will accept it eventually. It's just about what we were saying before, understanding it. So hopefully they'll get there.
It's a lot of education.
Yeah.
Like that's the critical thing. And I think it's something we at Binance take very seriously, you know, and our founder takes very seriously with the work he's doing in countries, is about like, how do we help educate the government, the regulators, the retail, the community, like really understand the value, understand the potential, how this benefits you, rather than, you know, this being a scary technology that is a scam,
right?
You know, as I said,
which a lot of people think it is, and you know.
But education is key to that.
100%, I agree with you. How would you like to reshape women's narrative in the Web3 and crypto landscape?
That's a really good question. I think I really want to shine, you know, and it's something that we do a lot through the initiatives that we're already, we like to think of ourselves as the world's largest local exchange. And I think what's really important there is, rather than always talk from a global platform about what we're doing, is to really look at how we show up to support women at a local level. So, you know, we've done incredible work, for example, in Turkey, which is one of the #1, you know, markets for crypto globally.
I didn't know that Turkey was number one.
Yeah, it's incredible. I think they're nearly at 35% penetration from at a global.
And the women are receptive there.
Women are highly receptive. They are enthusiastic investors or holders, or they're using it to set up businesses. And you know, we've done a scholarship program on the ground there. I think we've educated 5,000 women already. We're on track to 10,000 women. If I'm correct, I'm probably quoting that stat wrong, by the end of 2027. But you know, that's just one example of how there is such an appetite for education among women. And you know, I think that's, and it's not just for trading. It's also for how they can, you know, leverage blockchain technology to build new businesses of the future that are going to, you know, because it improves the value chain for many of these businesses. And, you know, I was lucky enough last year to spend some time in Kenya. I saw the same thing happen, you know, with female entrepreneurs using crypto and using Binance as a way to make payments, because the fees weren't as large for them for transferring funds. So, you know, I think there's huge potential. So for me, going back to, it's like changing the narrative by spotlighting those founders, by encouraging more education, making education more accessible. And you know, really sharing and humanizing the stories, you know, of how women and men, let's be clear, because I think there's still a lot of education, you know, for both genders, are using this as and it's benefiting their lives.
It's
you know,
really
versus
about freedom.
just talking about the technology. Yeah.
And I mean, that could be a really great campaign, tying education to these. Are you?
Well, we've just done one. We've just done one. Perfect segue. We just launched in early September. We launched a campaign called Humans of Binance.
Oh, I love that.
It was so hard to pick because, as you know, we're at 290 million users now globally.
Wow.
And, but we're incredibly lucky with this amazing community, and we wanted to spotlight some members of the community. So we filmed in India, in Kenya, in Mexico so far. We shared stories. There's Luis, who had retired. He was a TV producer.
I love these
and
stories.
he was using, crypto as a way, to help him in his retirement.
Yeah.
We had Mohit from India, who his daughter wanted to learn how to fly planes. So while he worked, he has a day job. He traded to build that,
What an exciting
additional.
story.
I mean, amazing stories.
Yeah.
And and Kevin, who was using it for as a passport across Africa to be able to travel easily, and not have to, pay huge fees for foreign exchange. But those are just 3 stories. We supported it with a UGC campaign on social, and we've had over 3,000 stories submitted to us.
I have to look these up.
I mean, it's incredible. Humans of Binance. The stories are amazing. And I think it goes back to something that's really important to me is rather than talk about the technology, let's talk about how it benefits the individual.
And that's
share
where you
those
get
stories.
to people is the emotion at the core. I remember Airbnb did a series of these stories as well, where you actually go into the home and you see how the campaign is affecting, people's lives for the better.
Yeah.
So I love these stories, and I can't wait to research them.
No, it's really fun, and we're going to continue to share those stories over the course of the next 12 months. And I'm so excited because they're just brilliant stories, and they relate to everyone.
Yeah,
because
they
that is the nature of crypto. It can play a role in everyone's life. It's just how you choose to engage and relate with it. So
it's almost like what blockchain is we're all tied to one another.
Exactly.
So crypto is still quite intimidating. How would you describe it to those who may be intimidated by it, to really, invite them, not just by education, but to really break that ice?
For me, it's just about looking at it through the lens of how you look at your finances now.
Okay.
But think about it as a technology, as I said earlier, that just makes everything you do now, whether it be transferring money, whether it be saving, whether it be trading, whether it be investing, just think about it as a way to do it faster, without borders, and with smaller amounts if you want.
Yeah.
I think that's how I try and break it down in its simplest form. It's really finance as we know it, but better.
Yeah.
And I think we just need to really reinforce that, to remove what are these barriers or these perceptions that people have about crypto bros and Lamborghinis, because it's not just all about that. That is just one of the narratives.
Yeah,
in
it's
this space.
fear that's just embedded in people's minds. And once you get over that hump, I think, we've all been there. Once you get past that hump, you understand how easy it is to use.
Yeah, and it's also just about testing and trying and entering it into a way that you feel comfortable. You don't have to jump like full force in.
Yeah.
You can take baby steps. And that is the beauty of it.
Yep.
And the great thing is now, because regulation has become clearer, because we're seeing more governments and countries embracing it, that's supporting us then to make the user experience better, which means that the friction that exists, to the OGs that did everything, doesn't exist in the same way. So, I think that's the beauty of the space.
The warriors have accomplished what they set out to
I have
accomplish.
so much respect. Every time I meet OGs, I'm like, thank you, because if you hadn't have embraced it and pushed that rock uphill, we wouldn't be where we are here today, and I think that is, kudos to
Thank
the
you
OGs.
to the OGs. What has been your personal experience as the CMO of Binance, and what has surprised you the most in taking on this role?
I think many would look at my background and say that it was non-linear to get to this point. I wasn't a CMO of a big Web 2 company. I wasn't one of the original builders in the space. But, you know, for me, it feels like all of my different experiences and roles before, kind of the different capabilities came together to make it a perfect role for me. But what's blown me away, you know, I worked for 14 years in New York, like advising on how you build brand love and how you build emotional connection and how you tap into people's passions and make your brand relatable. Was when I arrived into Binance, you know, I knew it was loved. I knew that they had a very loyal user base. But actually what they've managed to build, which is extraordinary to me, is like a true community. And there's so many analogies between like the fans of Formula One and the users who I describe as our fans of Binance. You know, like they really rally around us, and through the highs and the lows, they stayed with us and told us where we needed to be better and made us better, you know, and they attended the events. And I think that community and the learnings and insights, you know, you and I were both there when social media, you know, was just at its nascent stage, and brands were trying to figure out how to leverage it to make them better. You know, at Binance, like our first port is our community. Because what the social insights that we get through whether our community insights that we're getting from them, that's how we're making ourselves better every day. And I think that's what's been spectacular is,
and
you
your
know,
expertise was perfect for this. You don't really need to be in crypto to do what you're doing for the company, right? I mean, your knowledge in the marketing arena is, I'm sure, invaluable for Binance and its users.
Well, you know, I brought a lot of learnings and expertise, but I was lucky enough through the agency world. You know this, we balance so many plates. You're working across how many clients, you know, you get this opportunity to really embrace agility and speed and an understanding that, you know, there's no thing that's perfect, there's no thing that's right. And I think all of that training from agency world, and I really, whenever I'm interviewing individuals for my team, if they've got agency on their resume, I'm always like, okay, they're going to be able for the pace of crypto. Because it is, like you learned just to be in constant fear.
It's war. It's like the trenches.
Especially retail, where you're just like, it can change every day.
In New York, in agency, that's where you get all of your experience. Really, that's where you become a warrior.
Yeah,
to be truthful.
and I do think that has helped a lot and has meant that I have been able to pick up the pace and navigate what has been the volatility of this industry, you know, since I joined. But, you know, I think we're in this golden moment now where, you know, when I look back at my deathbed, I'm going to be able to say I was part, not to be morbid, but I was going to be able to say I was part of like a defining moment.
It's a legacy to leave behind.
Where the model was really disrupted, and I was a tiny, tiny part of it. But it's such a privilege. No, but it's such a privilege to be part of that. And, you know, myself and my team, some days when you're doing like an 18-hour day or you're doing your Saturday night and you're trying to like solve for something, like you just remind yourself of like it is a privilege to get to work in this space and get to be part of like building it for the future.
So it helps you sleep better at night too, doesn't it?
Well, for my son now, I think, okay, we're setting up, you know, it's not perfect world and it's far from that, but we're setting up better structures in this space.
Oh, you must be such a delight to work for. And I
love
it.
I don't know whether they'd all say that.
I'm going to speak with the women on your team and find out. But I also love that you're not just disrupting the space, but you're also, you know, bringing your creative conception to all the campaigns that you're working as well on. And I think it's a win-win for you.
Yeah, it's very fun. I've got very smart people on my team. I remember someone said this to me early in my career in New York, like always hire people smarter than you. And it's something that I've embraced since. And I'm very lucky to have incredible experts across all the different areas that keep me ahead as well and push me to be better.
I've heard that as well, and I love that. How would you like to develop Binance's brand's voice to capture its essence?
Look, I think that Binance has a very strong brand voice now. You know, I think that I was very lucky, you know, to inherit what was like a very clear authority in the space. And, you know, thankfully I've been able to build on that and continue it on this like growth momentum that we've been on. I think if there's one area that we're constantly trying to develop is about humanizing Binance. And that goes back to, you know, finance is something that's inherently functional. We just need it, you know, as part of our day-to-day life. But if we can, you know, continue to build that emotional connection with our youth, because the OGs are connected to us.
Yeah.
They were part of that like war and that uphill battle. But now we're entering into this mainstream. You know, we're moving from early adoption, you know, into mainstream, and keeping that emotional connection is going to be critical.
Yeah.
And that's why I think ensuring that we keep ourselves authentic and human and relatable, and localized as well. Like a big topic on our marketing team at the moment is we operate in over 180 countries.
Wow.
How do we ensure we're hyper local? You know, I've got a big team, you know, we're 250 plus now, but how do I ensure that given, you know, the variety of touch points where we're speaking to our different audiences on, that it's relatable, that it's connecting with the person in a moment where it's relevant for them? Because what's relevant in UAE is not always relevant in Pakistan or relevant in India or relevant, you know, in France.
Yep.
So it's for me, it's like, how do I push more to that personalized marketing approach?
Yeah.
And that's something, but through human lenses. So that's where humans of Binance and campaigns such as that are so important.
Yeah, that connection, keeping that connection to, like you said, the localized, you know, communities, because as we know in marketing or in advertising, every country has its own ways of doing things, and so that's really key.
Yeah, and then I think secondarily, what's so important, you know, is the connection with user experience and product. I think that's the big war ground that we're in at the moment, is the optimization of the user experience, because all of us operate from a place of where we expect everything to be one click away. And as centralized exchanges and as our broader industry, we aren't there yet. We're getting better. But in order to continue to really become mainstream and hit that 1 billion user target that we talk about, we need to ensure
simplify it in
that
a
we
way,
simplify, make it as intuitive, as easy to navigate as possible, so that like my 90-year-old grandmother, if she wants to buy, genuinely, if she wants to go on, that it's like 2 clicks for her to get to what she wants to. So I think that's the big, it really keeps, you know, us up at night at the moment in Binance, is how we do that.
Yeah, then I think, I remember when Facebook first came out, it was so easy to use that my parents started to get on. That's when I got off of it. But, you know, it's so important to have that, the ease of being able to navigate through any platform. If it gets complicated, I'm off.
Yeah, and then I think, but like on that point though, so you've got, obviously it's about continuing to grow the community, you've got the optimization of product, and then thirdly, that layer that's really important is like that regulatory clarity.
Yes.
And I think, you know, one thing I'll applaud UAE is they took that step into the unknown, they educated themselves, they understood what they needed to do in order to make it a safe and secure environment for their residents.
Yeah.
And now we see it thriving here, and we see this becoming, you know, the center of the crypto universe, UAE.
Yes.
I think that's where, and we're starting to see that in other countries. You know, we've got 22 licenses at Binance and growing, but there's still a lot more that needs to be done there, because that just adds that, you know, user security.
Absolutely.
And that level of trust that needs to exist.
That brings me to my next question. What role does creativity play within digital asset compliance and regulation?
It's a great question, and it's not just limited to marketing, because creativity is, like, I think of creativity as product innovation. I think of creativity as not just, like, it's not just storytelling. It goes beyond, you know, it's about government relations. It's about, like, how do we capture the imagination of general public, because they've seen that we're in this like cultural zeitgeist moment where everyone now, like the amount of messages I get from friends that 3 years ago would be like, I'm never investing in crypto. We're now like how do I do this? Should I invest in this meme coin? And you know, you're trying to help them understand.
What are you investing in? What are you investing in?
Exactly.
Give me
Or like, what are the
tip.
exactly. But I think it's just about like how creativity is critical, because it's going to be how we grow this space. And how we ensure that we're continuing to create as much value as possible for the new stakeholders and new community members that are starting to come in. So, you know, and I think product innovation is central to that. And I'm really excited, because I think the more minds that we get, the more technologists that we get embracing this space, the more we're going to see kind of value propositions and products that are developed that really truly improve. Because you and I both know, like, we're only kind of, there's so much untapped potential.
Yes, we're just scratching the surface. I can't wait to see how Binance evolves and where you take the company.
But it's like creative partnerships, creative product innovation. It's like how we bring Web 2 into this space, you know. And I will say, like, obviously my route into this was through sports, and kudos to the sports IPs and the talent. Like, they really did embrace this space. Some of it was because they saw paydays and they saw opportunity there, but they also saw it as a way to connect with their fans in a new way. And, you know, they're constantly thinking, given it's so competitive, how they do that. So I'm excited to see other industries kind of embrace this space as well.
Yeah, so am I. Which emerging technology outside of blockchain excites you the most, and why?
So I don't think it's emerging because, and like, I worked in IBM Watson like 10 years ago, and we were using AI.
Back then? I guess it's been part of our lives for a long time. We just didn't realize it.
You know, I get a lot of questions of like, oh, how are you starting to use AI in Binance? And I was like, well, our team has been using it for 4 years to optimize your trading and investment experience. Obviously, it's scaling and proliferating now with the new technologies that are being developed. But for me, the most exciting technology that we can use, not just to improve professional life, because we're integrating it in all parts of our marketing team, is AI. But I, again, don't think we've scratched the surface yet in terms of the potential.
And it's interesting because so many people fear these two, you know, these two letters, AI. But as you know, working together with it will allow us to grow with it instead of fighting against it, right?
I think it's so exciting for me, it's made us so much more efficient. I'll give one example. So, you know, I have a relatively small creative team, brilliant creative team, but a small creative team. And we operate really in a retail business. So that just the scale of assets that are being created, the volume that are being created, you know, is huge. And it means that sometimes, you know, those people who are the most creative on the team are doing like what I would describe as BAU tasks, like changing headlines and changing images. But because we're now able to use AI to take those tasks over, those minds are able to focus on like bigger ideas, you know, bigger campaigns, bigger events, bigger moments. And that's just like one way in which it can drive excellence and efficiency. You know, then we're able, you know, we're using it across our security and risk to ensure that, you know, really we can detect anything that may be unusual behavior and alert our users.
And that benefits
us. And that's 24/7. You know, and that's, you know, 365 days a year that we're doing that. So, you know, for me, and then you get to products and how it can be used to help educate you on trading strategies better. Like, I think there's so much potential there. But I'm also excited, like, I have friends, I have a friend who's been very deep in this space for a while, amazing founder, serial founder. And he really looks at these technologies and how he can improve his life. And he recognized that while he is a brilliant mad scientist, that he doesn't always remember things at home that he should. So he spoke to his wife and they decided to build an AI agent that would essentially mean that he stops asking his wife like stupid questions that he should know. So they have at home. So they have at home an AI agent that's like, you know, when should I be doing the dry cleaning, or when should I be picking up, you know, our son? And they fully integrated into their household. And he's like, our lives are so much better.
You have a personal assistant.
Exactly. But it's like in an efficient way that's not an additional human in our household, you know? And it means that like I've stopped asking my wife the stupid questions because I've essentially created her in an AI agent.
Oh my goodness.
You know, so I can focus on the important things in our relationship. But those are just like small, and I know that's a funny example, but they are ways in which we can optimize.
There is so much you could do with AI, 100%. And it's really about embracing it and finding a unique way of integrating it into your daily life.
But it does, to those points about, you know, it being scary, it does have to be done with integrity. And I think that is where, you know, UAE is also ahead, where they have, you know, an entire division now that's looking at AI, safety, how we introduce it into, you know, the economy, into the household in a safe way. So I think those checks and boundaries, you know, those have to exist as well.
Yeah, thankfully. We don't want to create a Terminator after all.
I know. That's all our reference points, a Terminator and Matrix.
How does Binance differentiate itself within the industry's competitive landscape?
So it's really funny because that competitive landscape versus when I joined 2 years ago is entirely different today. Like, our competitors aren't the other centralized exchanges. They're part of our competitive set. Our competitors are the traditional finance companies now that are entering into this space and developing products. They're the fintechs, you know, like Revolut, like Moomoo, like
Weo,
like Nubank, like Weo. You know, big fans, and we're all partners.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But really, the competitive set now has proliferated with the opportunity growing. I think we're in a really privileged position as Binance, is that we were many people's first entry point into this industry. You know, we're nearly, I think it's like 10x the size of the largest competitor with 290 million users. Like, I think we're en route to hit 300 million before December. But we don't take that privilege lightly. So we're constantly, you know, we're very lucky. We're the largest. We've got the most liquidity. We've got the largest number of, you know, assets. We have a very exciting, you know, listing roadmap, albeit marketing finds out when it goes to the market at the same time as the users. But I think the privilege that we're in is being the largest. We have the most amount of community insights and user insights that we're able to then put to work to constantly be innovating and optimizing. So I think that's a lucky position that we're in.
And you guys are leading in this space. And as they say, you know, that comes with great responsibility. So I know that you don't take that lightly.
No, we don't. And, you know, the founders don't either. Like, what they do to reinvest back into the ecosystem, not just in Binance, but what YZI Labs is doing in the space, what BNB Jane is doing recently. They're continuously looking at how we build the future, not just of crypto and digital assets, of blockchain. And I think it's really lucky to be, you know, a part of that ecosystem.
And speaking of which, what can attendees look forward to at this year's Binance Blockchain Week event? What are you going to be doing that's different than the past years?
So I think it's our 5th year doing it now. I've been involved in 3 of them. Sorry, 6th year doing it now. I've been involved in 3 years. We did Istanbul 2 years ago, which was amazing. Turkish, I would highly recommend to attend a Turkish crypto conference.
Oh, I would love to.
They are amazing. But just generally, that community is amazing.
I was just there this summer. I would love to go
incredible. Back. Great food as well, and an amazing community in this space, and incredible builders and innovations that are coming out of Turkey. So last year we held it in Dubai at the Coca-Cola Arena. We've decided to we had such an incredible response. I think we had over 5,000 people attend every day. We had over 1 million people live stream in, because we recognize that not everyone gets to travel. Like, a flight to Dubai is expensive. So we want to make it as accessible. So we live stream everything. We are expecting, I think, over 150 speakers this year. We're going to have 3 stages.
Wow,
we're
that's
bringing,
huge.
you know, we confidentially have just confirmed Michael Saylor to speak, which is huge. So
oh my God, that is huge.
Really, really huge. So, you know, we've got really all of the leaders in the space are going to be present. So
are you involved in it on every step of the way?
I'm involved in every step. It's like my baby. I have an amazing head of events who, you know, brings it to life. But it's something that, you know, we do over 3,000 events now a year as Binance, across our meetups, across other conferences we attend. But this really is our tentpole event.
Oh, we're so excited to be part of it too, and to be your media partner, and to cover the event. It'll be my first year covering with the Web3 team, but I'm very excited to see what your baby grows into.
And it's amazing because Coca-Cola Arena is such a special and unique environment, and we're taking over the full space, and it's really going to be for everyone in the family. So whether you're someone that's like really deeply embedded in this space and wants to learn about like what's the hot next project, or someone that just wants to learn how you take your first step in, it's really going to be open to everyone. So we're really excited to be here.
Oh, we're excited to be part of it too.
Thank you.
And can we invite Michael Saylor here then?
Of course we can extend the invite. You got,
I think everybody would lose it. They'd be so excited. Okay, so best advice you have ever received and how it has shaped you in your life.
Best advice, there's 2 pieces of advice, if you don't mind
of course.
me sharing.
The more the better.
One was, don't be afraid what's behind the door. And I think that's advice that I've embraced early in my career, of being curious and really not overthinking.
And do you continue to apply that?
Yes,
You do.
I do. Like, I'll be very frank with you. When I first shared with some of my mentors and some of my community that I was going to make the move into crypto and then make the move into Binance, like I had several of my mentors say, "You're blowing up your career. What are you doing?" And my gut told me it was the right move. And, I haven't looked back. It's been, extraordinary and so much more than I thought it would be.
And you're still listening to your gut, which
Always
right
listen.
there is
Yeah, but I do think it
everything.
goes back to like sometimes like that fear can actually be very healthy. So like, don't be afraid. And the second piece of advice is from my father. And he's like, always be careful how you treat people on the way up. And,
Yes.
my father is a very wise man, but he shared that with me. And I think it's so important to embrace that. And I think it's something that I see many of my peers and obviously those mentors that I look up to having embraced. And I think it is something that's really important in today's society that you do that.
It's very critical because you don't know who's going to race you up the step ladder and who you may have to look up to one day.
Yeah, but also you never know when you're going to need that friend.
Yes, don't burn bridges.
Don't burn bridges.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do sometimes, but I think it's an important kind of philosophy to embrace.
That's great advice, absolutely. One more question that I have for you, which I absolutely love asking everyone. What would this successful version of you today advise your younger self?
Oof, don't stress out so much. I think, when I first started in my career in Havas, I remember being so cautious and so concerned about like how I presented myself or what language I was using or, what was the interpretation of something I was saying. And you know what? It's like probably lots of unnecessary, probably all necessary at that time in order to like ensure that you're behaving in the right way and adding value in the right way. But at the end of the day, it's just about going for it and don't let like stress or anxiety like hold you back. Because I think, now, in my 40s, like I really don't care.
Yeah.
Because like failing is actually has been a big part of, my 20-year career.
We care so much when we're in our 20s about nonsense.
I know.
Nonsense.
But it's men and women. That's not just a female trait. Like it's
Yeah.
men and women. I speak to some of the younger guys on my team now and I see it. Like they worry a lot and their anxiety and they're like, we need to be like head of this by this age. And I'm like, dude, doesn't always happen. Like slow and steady can be also attractive.
Yeah, baby steps.
Exactly. So I think it's more about just like staying focused, not stressing, and giving yourself a break. Like enjoy life. Like don't take things as seriously.
Oh, I love that, especially here in Dubai. When you have the beach, you have this gorgeous weather, and you should get out and enjoy life. Not just, it's not just about work, work, work.
No. And that is the good thing about places like this now. Yeah. Like I think when we were in New York, it was work, work, work.
100%.
Like you
burning the candle on both ends, it was a nightmare.
But I'm learning a lot from like my Gen Z team members now. Like they're out of the office before us. They'll like adjust and work as they need. And I don't think we had good balance in our early years, but I think they've got a good way of approaching it.
But it made us who we are.
That's true.
So
That's true.
I don't have any regrets about being a workaholic at the time when we needed to be in New York, because here we are and we're loving where we are in life. So I think
it's important. I think the underlying message though is we've been very privileged in the careers we've been in that work didn't feel like work to me.
Yes.
I always had fun. I was always getting exposed to new things, meeting new people. Like I always enjoyed getting up in the morning.
100%.
And I think if you follow what is something that fills your cup and that you're passionate about, that really what truly unlocks potential.
100%.
Like I have so many friends that like entered into much higher paying jobs like early, when we left college, most of my friends went into, banking and finance and I chose to go into media but earn like a 20th of what they were earning at the time. And I remember like one night being like, have I made a mistake? But genuinely, like I love my career now and I love the opportunities it's afforded me and I love the journey, the snakes and ladder journey I've been on. But I think that's because I got to choose a career route that I was passionate about.
100%. So. You just said the word passionate. And somebody once told me that if you wake up every day doing what you love, and if you would do it for free, that means you're in the right job. So I think that makes a really big difference.
Now, that doesn't mean that some days are really hard and you don't want to be in that job. But if you look back at the collective, it tends to be fun.
Oh, I love that. Well, I mean, we've talked about so many wonderful things today. Any parting words to your viewers or any, anecdote you want to leave behind?
We're still early. That's the biggest thing I would say. We're still so early in the crypto and digital asset journey. I have friends that say, am I too late entering into the space and investing into the space? Have I missed the boat? And I'm like, no, this is here to stay. So if you are someone that is interested, to take that first step in, like check out Binance Academy, check out the many meetups, not just Binance, that happen all over. Now, like the community here is, the really amazing thing about this community is the people that were the OGs that did enter in early want to bring more people in, and they want to educate. So there's so many forums whereby you can learn and learn how to navigate.
Yeah, we're just getting started. Get on board. Thank you so much, Rachel, for sharing your story with us. And here's to many more fruitful years ahead at Binance. To our wonderful viewers, thank you very much as well. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more updated content. And in quoting Rachel, sometimes stepping into the unknown and getting out of your comfort zone is the best way to become your most authentic self and truly uncover your full potential. Remember, those willing to take the leap are the ones who will shape the future. This is Jenny from the Blockchain, wishing you a beautiful day. See you next time.
The future of blockchain starts right here. This is Jenny from the Blockchain.
Web3.tv